Hello everyone, my name is Crystal Lopez and today we're going to be talking about the death penalty. The death penalty, according to Merriam-Webster.com, is death used as a punishment given by a court of law for a very serious crime. A quote that I found from Amnesty.org goes as, "The death penalty is a symptom of the culture of violence, not a solution to it." Salil Shetty said this, and I think that it very much highlights the real effect of the death penalty. A fact is that Texas is a lethal injection state only. This means that Texas still uses the death penalty, but they only use the lethal injection method. But there are a ton of different methods being used, such as hanging, beheading, and electrocuting, and shooting from firing squads. Something to consider is that by the end of 2017, 106 countries have abolished the death penalty. And something else to consider is that I'm going to be putting myself in the shoes of a pro-death penalty person and still coming out as someone against the death penalty. So, the first argument that pro-death penalty people use is that it saves money. The idea that keeping someone alive is more expensive than keeping them, or just sentencing them to death. So, a quote that I got from opinionfront.com goes, "By sentencing these convicts to death, this money, which will be otherwise spent on their leisure, can be used for a better purpose." I think that is just absolutely ridiculous, and I don't think that money should be an issue when it comes to deciding somebody's life or not. The second thing is that the death penalty groups believe that the death penalty helps prevent crimes and criminals. By saying that we are going to be killing these criminals, it stops people from becoming criminals. This is very contradicting because sentencing people to death for a drug offense is a violation of the international law. The international law states that you can send people to death for serious crimes such as murder. Drug offense is a minor crime compared to murder, and by killing these people because of the drug offense, it is a violation of that law, and this kind of highlights just criminal activity by saying it's okay to violate certain laws. It's highlighting criminal activity. But a quote that I got from Amnesty.org is, "There is no evidence that the death penalty is more effective and deterring death crime in any other crime than a prison term," basically saying that there's no proof that the death penalty stops crime rather than just putting them in jail for a long period of time. The third point that pro-death penalty groups say is that killing the criminals keep the innocent safe and alive, but what happens when the innocent are killed? So while doing research, I saw a bunch of cases where innocent people were being murdered and later found not guilty of the crime that they so said have done. There are a bunch of cases like that, but there are two that I want to go over. One being Carlos de Luna. Carlos de Luna was executed in 1989, and he was accused of stabbing a Texas convenience store clerk. During this time, there was a criminal named Carlos Hernandez who was doing a bunch of crimes similar to this one, and the faults of this investigation was that the police didn't investigate Carlos Hernandez, and a prosecutor knew of Carlos Hernandez and his recent crime activity, but yet just pushed that aside and still ended up killing De Luna. Later found out it wasn't him that did the crime. Another case is David Spence, who was executed in 1997, and he was accused of murdering 3 teens in 1982. Munir Deeb was the store owner, and he allegedly hired Spence to kill 1 teenager, but within the process, he accidentally killed 3. David Spence was said to do this activity, but originally, Deeb was convicted and sentenced to death, but later acquitted during a retrial. And then David Spence was brought in and put to death. But later, during this research, I got all this information from deathpenaltyinfo.org, and on that website, it says that a homicide detective gave his opinion, and he said, "My opinion is that David Spence was innocent. Nothing from the investigation ever led us to any evidence that he was involved." Basically saying that this case was not very much, that was very rigged, and that apparently one of the officers talked to some inmates and got them to give their opinion in a court, and they took that over David Spence's his story. So yeah, in conclusion, I think that you should reconsider the death penalty being a good idea. Basically, there are a ton of innocent people being put to death, and a lot of people are just more concerned about overpopulation and money issues. But I think that it's important to understand that these are human beings' lives, and that by killing people, we are not stopping people from killing other people. We are just pretty much highlighting that idea, highlighting the idea that it is okay for criminal activity, because if you do that criminal activity, you will be killed. That's not stopping anybody. So yeah, I hope you've reconsidered. Thank you for watching.